share my screen. Let me share my screen and then we'll get started. Give me a sec. So Radhe Radhe, good morning, good evening, everyone. A very warm welcome to today's edition of Daily Wisdom from Bhagavad Gita. Hope you are doing great and had a wonderful weekend. We had a very nice Ram Navami celebration, which I'm going to continue through Tuesday as well. So that's what we were busy in, and it was a good function that we had. Maybe we can show you glimpses on one of the sessions when they come out, or if they have come out, I don't know. But yes, so let's get started with today's session with our opening prayers like we always do. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parbrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagat Gurum Krishnam Vande Jagat Gurum. So Radhe Radhe, good morning, good evening, everyone. A very warm welcome to today's edition of Daily Wisdom from Bhagavad Gita. So let's get started with our Soul Soup segment. Right now we are doing the Science of Mind Management series. So as part of this Soul Soup series, today we are going to talk about afflictions of the mind, diseases of the mind. So when it comes to physical ailments, we talk through that, right? Like there are physical ailments, afflictions that happens, like body ache is happening, or our emotions, we're happy, we are sad, illness that happens. Now, these afflictions, when they happen, we are aware of their consequences, right? Now, a single physical ailment has the capacity to ruin our entire day. Even if you have a toothache, it can ruin your entire day. If you have headache, it can really mess up your thought process as well. I remember once I was traveling, I had headache, and it was so bad that, thinking about God and that thing took a backseat because your whole focus goes into the pain itself, unless of course, you become Vide. Now, it is not uncommon to say when people say my head is dizzy or they could not do throughout the day. Now, however, these physical ailments, they are not even fractionally as debilitating as the ones which are called the mental afflictions. They are much more debilitating for human beings. What are these afflictions? These are anger, greed, envy, and pride. Now, these have been termed as manas rogs. We pass it on as, what we think is basically that um, these are tendencies or people's nature. We just pass it off as, okay, this person has a lot of anger, or this person has, he's a greedy person. Don't be envy, or why do you have so much of pride? We write them off as human nature, that it is part of our nature, right? This person is like this person is like that, or a natural tendency. The fact is that all of us are afflicted with this for as long as we are under the Maya. Now, you may give yourself a certificate, hey, I don't have anger, I don't have greed. This, no, we all have it. Only when you are Maya teeth, you are beyond Maya, can you get rid of these afflictions. You can diminish its intensity, the proportion of each one of these manas rogs or defects that you are, suffering from rather. But you cannot say that, this is something you can't relate to, or it's something that we don't have that defect. Okay. And since we are unaware of these effects on our overall health and well-being, we do not even try to cure them. We don't even know these are diseases. Our scriptures say these are diseases. These are called manas rogs in our scriptures. And in fact, sage Vashisht, when Lord Ram asked what is disease, basically, he said it all starts here in the mind. And all of these, they do have a bearing on our health, on our physical, emotional well-being, and pretty much all of it. Now, even one physical ailment is enough to incapacitate us. Then think of the plight of the soul. Soul is what our true identity is, which is afflicted with numerous mental ailments. Now, is there a means for relief? That is a big question. So what, right? Okay, we are afflicted with this, then so what? The good news is, yes, we do have. Our scriptures tell us that you can actually get relief from these. Very clearly, it says that. But this is a subtle science, right? Of this thrilling journey of Vedic psychology that we will embark upon as part of this series. It is a very thrilling and a transformational journey that we are talking about. And it will be the most rewarding journey of your life as well. Why? Because this is a subtle science. All it requires is an open mind, concentration, and dedication to understand it. And when we do that, when we patiently listen to this, understand the logic enumerated as we are going to have as part of this discussion, you will find that all the pieces of the jigsaw puzzle, how our mind works and what are the problems it has. When you start having that witness consciousness that we spoke about, that Sakshi Bhav, you'll understand these pieces of puzzles that we speak about, they will start falling in place. They all will start falling in place. And this is the beauty of our scriptures. This is not only something that, not we are not saying that because we follow Sanatan Dharma or it is a proprietorship of Hinduism or anything. Even Western philosophers, right? Henry David Thoreau, he was an American writer and philosopher. He said that whenever I hear a part of the Vedas, I felt that a divine light illuminated me. It's and there is no touch of sectarianism in these teachings. That is how profound this teaching is. And then Albert Einstein had said, when I read the Bhagavad Gita and reflect about how great God created this universe, everything else seems so superfluous. And in fact, he also went on to say that if you think deeply about something, everything is a miracle or nothing is. Right? Arthur Schopenhauer, he's a German philosopher. What he said that there is nothing in this world as elevating as the Upanishads. They have been the solace of my life and they shall be the solace of my death. That is also coming directly from a Western philosopher. And what we are reading right now, it's a distillation of Upanishads. Right? We have spoken about it. Bhagavad Gita is nothing but a cream of all the Vedas and Upanishads, right? Sarva Upanishado Gavo Dogdha Gopalananda. And Krishna has milked that cow of the entire scriptures and Upanishads, and Arjun is devouring it. And through this beautiful song of God, we are getting that benefit to partake that nectar or the milk that God has, basically milked the cow of scriptures for us. We get that to devour it on a regular basis. Now, in the coming sessions, we are going to talk about each one of these afflictions in more detail. These four afflictions that I spoke about in more detail, and how do we systematically tackle those? What do our scriptures have to say about that? How does our mind see? It's such an interesting thing. We try to understand people around us and we try to make sense of world around us without knowing. We don't even know how our mind works or our mind operates. And this is going to be a journey where we are going to read ourselves like a book and then see what we can do about the afflictions that come to our mind, right? So with that said, let's move on to our shloka. I'm going to recite it. We'll pick up three hands and then get deeper into the discussion. It's going to be a very interesting topic about doership part of it. न कर्तृत्वं न कर्माणि लोकस्य सृजति प्रभुः न कर्मफलसंयोगं स्वभावस्तु प्रवर्तते. Okay, let's take three hands.
Yes, Dinesh ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, Dinesh ji.
राधे राधे न कर्तृत्वं न कर्माणि लोकस्य सृजति प्रभुः न कर्मफलसंयोगं स्वभावस्तु प्रवर्तते. राधे राधे.
Radhe Radhe. Very nice, Dinesh ji. Thank you. Now let's take three more hands. We'll give a discount of it. Take additional hand. Yes, go ahead, please, Shyamji.
Sure. Shyamji, Radhe Radhe.
राधे राधे
Radhe
न
Radhe.
कर्तृत्वं न कर्माणि लोकस्य सृजति प्रभु न कर्मफलसंयोगं स्वभावस्तु प्रवर्तते राधे
Nice.
राधे
Thank you, Shyamji. Radhe Radhe. Lakshmi ji, please go ahead.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe Lakshmi ji. I'm
Radhe
unable.
Radhe, everyone.
Yeah.
I'm audible?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, okay. Radhe Radhe, everyone. न कर्तृत्वं न कर्माणि लोकस्य सृजति प्रभु न कर्मफलसंयोगं स्वभावस्तु प्रवर्तते.
Very nice,
Radhe
Lakshmi
Radhe.
ji. Wonderful. Thank you, Radhe Radhe. I see a new hand. Yes, Samiran, go ahead. You're going to make your debut today. Go ahead.
Radhe Radhe.
राधे राधे
Radhe Radhe.
न कर्तृत्वं न कर्माणि लोकस्य सृजति प्रभुः न कर्मफलसंयोगं स्वभावस्तु प्रवर्तते.
Very nice. Thank you.
राधे राधे.
Okay, how many hands? So let's quickly take both the hands and then let's freeze. No more hands.
Rupa ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe everyone.
Radhe Radhe.
न कर्तृत्वं न कर्माणि लोकस्य सृजति प्रभु न कर्मफलसंयोगं स्वभावस्तु प्रवर्तते.
Pravartate.
Radhe
Very
Radhe.
nice. Thank you. Last but not the least, Riyaji, real quick.
Yes, thank you for waiting, Riya ji. Please go ahead, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
न कर्तृत्वं न कर्माणि लोकस्य सृजति प्रभुः न कर्मफलसंयोगं स्वभावस्तु प्रवर्तते.
Wonderful.
Radhe
Thank
Radhe.
you, Riyaji. Radhe Radhe. So, Udayji, you want? Okay. All right, go ahead. Last one, please.
Radhe Radhe Uday ji.
राधे राधे न कर्तृत्वं न कर्माणि लोकस्य सृजति प्रभुः न कर्मफलसंयोगं स्वभावस्तु प्रवर्तते राधे
Very
राधे
nice. Thank you. Very nice. In this shloka, Lord is saying that neither the sense of doership nor the nature of action comes from God, nor does he create the fruits of action. All this is enacted by the modes of material nature gunas. So this continues to confuse people. At least it confused me for a long time. Can't claim it has completely made sense, but let's try to go a little deeper into this topic through some analogies and try to make sense out of it. Let's get started. So if you've gone through 3.27, it says that, prakrite kriyamani gune karmani sarvasya. So basically it says that all activities are carried out by the three modes of material nature. But in ignorance, the soul, deluded by false identification with the body, thinks of itself as the doer. We spoke about this topic at pretty good length, right? So when you spoke about it, you would have felt, wow, made sense. Okay. But soon after, it will be like, no, it doesn't. It happens because then we also say, well, if you do some papa or punya, then you have to take the responsibility for your actions. You will have to suffer or bear rewards accordingly. Someone can say there is a contradiction, right? This can confuse. Then same with the topic God as well. We say everything happens by the will of God. A leaf cannot move without the sanction of the Lord. Also, we say Lord is not involved in this world anytime, anywhere. Whatever happens, here is our doing. Again, seems like a bit contradictory stuff as well, right? So then material energy or prakriti that we're talking about, we hear it is jad or inert. It doesn't do anything in itself. It doesn't have any consciousness to do things on its own. Then again, we hear that prakriti that makes Jiva to dance on her tune because he's covered by ignorance or illusion. So there are statements like this which can really confuse and come across as a contradictory statements, and then it befuddles and confuses us, what to make sense out of it. So we'll try to see it through some analogy, and I want you to wear your thinking hats on, and we'll make it a little interactive, engaging today. So having heard of enough of these contradictions, we would be intrigued to know now who is the doer here. Now, why do we care to know who's the doer here? We do care, right? It's like mother has two kids, Pappu and Gappu. Pappu does some mischief and Gappu gets a slap. They'll say, what kind of a fair deal it is now? Pappu is making all the mistakes and mother is slapping Gappu, right? Now, if God is the doer, why, hapless and helpless souls, we have to suffer the consequences? If everything is orchestrated by Prakriti and God is the sanctioning authority or the energy behind it, and then why basically we have to go through this getting tossed around here in this whole process, right? Because Prakriti is doing it, and then energy is provided by God, and Prakriti is also energized by God. So let's try to understand this concept. Okay. So who is the doer? That's a big question, right? Now let's look at this example, and I want you to think and exert yourself, and we are going to understand what's going on here. So here's a kid who looks at his father who goes to gym, and he looks at people and his father lifting weights, big weights, 20 kgs, 10 kgs, 15 kgs, whatever. And he of course feels excited to do the same. And then he goes on and picks up some weight. Okay, a heavy one. First he tries a lighter one, of course he's able to pick up, and then he tries a heavy weight. Right, his own weight is probably 15 kgs. He tries 20 kgs. By the way, do you know the only animal or insect, I should say, only species who can lift more weight than its own weight? Okay, that's not the question. That's an ant basically. But anyways, so now this kid goes to the gym and he tries to lift the weight more than its own body weight. Okay, and it is struggling until it's trying. It's like trying to exert, and then the father comes in quietly behind and pushes it, and the kid is able to complete it or lift it. Now in this case, who is the doer? Is it the father? Is it the son? Is it the gym? Because if the gym was not there, this facilitation could not have happened anyways, right, to begin with. So gym has also got a role here. If there was no weight, no gym, is it all of them in some form or manner? Anybody who wants to take this question? Who you think is the doer here?
Kumarji has put in the
It's
chat.
an objective type question, and the timer starts now. 10 seconds. Yes. Who's raised the hand?
There is
Anybody?
chat as well. Lakshmi ji had raised hand, but she put it down. But
Lakshmi.
in the chat, Kumarji says God is the doer. Sri
There's no
Ramya ji
God.
says
There's no God here at all. Okay, let's talk about the entities which are displayed on the screen. Forget about God for a minute.
Sri
Yes,
Ramya
Sarthak.
ji says joint effort of father and son.
Mhm.
And let's hear from Samji. Okay, I think he wanted to say the same maybe.
Okay.
And Swati ji saying, I think all of them. Anik ji is saying father. So yeah.
So we have kind of a split verdict on that, right? It's actually all of them. Let's try to understand how. Depends
And
on how you're looking at it, right? So if you want to emphasize the facilitation or instigation, who's the doer? Who's facilitating it or instigation? It's the gym, Prakriti, right? It's the instigation. If the child had not seen the gym or the weights, he would not have even gotten that desire to undertake that activity, right? So the facilitation, and if there was no gym, even if he had a desire, there was no gym, there was no point, there was no question of lifting that weight itself. So gym, in this case, that is kind of a Prakriti, the instigation or the facilitation part of it. Now, if you emphasize the sanctioning or the witnessing, then who's the doer? Who's sanctioning or witnessing here? Sanctioning means who's actually providing the energy there, right? It's the father in this case, because if he had not provided that energy, the child would not have been able to do that. Is it making sense? I hope it is. If you want to emphasize the responsibility, who does it go to? Anybody? It goes to the child. Child has expressed that desire, right? He wants to undertake that. He wants to lift the weight. So really depends on from which angle you're looking at. The responsibility is child. Sanctioning is father, because without its energy, it would not have been possible. And facilitation is done by Prakriti. It is care, because if gym was not there, the weights were not there, this would not have happened. Let's look at it another example, then we'll try to connect the dots in both and see if it kind of makes sense or not. Now here's a kid. He's walking. I'll tell you under what circumstances he's walking. Okay. And he comes across an ice cream shop. It's like cannon fodder, right? Opportunity meeting a demand. And then he walks away with an ice cream. And I don't know how he changed his shirt, t-shirt as well, but he walks away with an ice cream. But it is not possible unless father came and gave money, right? Ice cream will not come just like that. So father came and gave the money. Now, if we try to understand that, it was a summer day when he felt exhausted after a sweaty day of exercise in the school, and he's coming back home and he passes his favorite shop of ice cream. So he was anyway having a desire. He likes ice cream, but on that particular day, he was exhausted too, and it was pretty hot. So if you look at it, the Prakriti has instigated the desire in his heart. How nice it would be to have an ice cream. And then the child desires to have ice cream. But all that it can do is desire. It can do desire. What else can it do? Now, what happens after that? Rest is up to the Prakriti to provide him for the fulfillment of his desire. For example, Prakriti is providing the milk, ice, water. That is also not produced by us. Machine is also created by metal, which is all manufactured by Prakriti. It's all Prakriti which is facilitating this whole process. However, it needs to be, there's another action, right? The father, mother, somebody has to allow the desire, permit the desire to be fulfilled by paying money for it, right? And then the child can walk away from it. So if you look at it, who's the responsible party in this case? You may say, why is father sanctioning it, right? Father could have easily withheld that desire, but in this particular case, father is like a judge. He's not going to withhold you. He's going to provide you with the energy. It's like a judge pronouncing a judgment. It could be sending a criminal to 20 years of rigorous imprisonment, or it could be sanctioning millions of dollars for a cause. It's simply pronouncing a verdict. Okay, it is agnostic to, it's basically dependent upon what there is, basically what the person who's sitting on the courthouse had actually done, right? So this is how it works. Now with this Prakriti facilitator, the sanctioning authority and the desiring authority, is it making sense so far? Because there's an element somebody's exerting, and we are going to get into that as well. Yes, Sandhya, you had a question?
No, actually, there were few comments that
Sure. Let's read those.
so there was a comment from Samiranji, desire to build muscle is the doer for the previous slide. And Lakshmi ji had said doer is the son and father is the facilitator.
Father is the facility, is the sanctioning. We spoke about the sanctioning authority, right? The instigating authority or the facilitating authority. And so let's understand this whole principle, that when we talk about some action getting performed, right? We make that desire. We make that desire. God simply sanctions energy for that. And that basically is the basis for the law of karma that we are currently operating in, and Prakriti will facilitate that process, right? Anything that happens is through Prakriti only. We spoke about it. You make the desire. That is why you take the responsibility for that. That is how it goes. So if we go to the law of karma, keeping this concept in mind, Ramayana says, कर्म प्रधान विश्व करी राखा जो जस करहि so tas phal chakha. Simple. This is again reiterated by Kabir Das ji. He says, करथा तो सो क्यों किया, अब कर क्यों पछताए, बोया पेड़ बबूल का आम कहाँ से खाए. Right? It's again the law of karma that he's talking about as well. So all the scriptures, all the saints, they have reiterated this law of karma, And law of karma is something that we all are subject to. It's like that domino. It just never, the karma never misses its date. Right? So there was a person, based on the prarabdha that he ordained, which is fate, destiny, or which is preordained to you for a particular in a particular life based on your karma. So he was supposed to exit this world as of a particular date and time. So Yamarajji comes. Yamarajji said, time for you to go. So he said, come on, come, let's, time for you to go. My buffalo and other people are waiting for you. So this guy says, you know what? Can you please wait a little bit? Because I have I have married my son and I have not seen my grandkid as yet. I want to play with my grandkid. And then my daughter is yet not married. I want to get her married. So can you please give me some time? So Yamaraj said, no, it's not negotiable. You have to go. He said, please. He said, no, you have to go. He said, please. So he doesn't agree. So Yamaraj said, okay, you make up your mind. You have to go regardless. But let me go and have a tea in between. Okay. So he shows his list. He said, this is the list. Your name is right at the top. You have to go. But let me go have a tea in the meantime. Until then, you make peace with this decision. So Yamaraj goes for tea, and this guy thinks he's very smart. What he does is he writes off his name from the top and puts it at the bottom. He said, that will buy me some time. Okay, that will buy me some time. And then he puts his name at the bottom. So Yamaraj comes back after having his tea. So Yamaraj said, while having tea, I was thinking, maybe it's your good day today, lucky day today. Let me start from bottom today. So again, it caught up with him. So this is how the law of karma works. We cannot escape it, regardless of what we think. And this is like you put some wheat in a grinding machine, and it will keep on churning the wheat, and whatever it's like you have put in will come down from below, right? So you cannot change that part of it. Now, if this is the law of karma of God, where based on your deeds, you are you have to bear the consequences for it. And this is the game that we are playing right now, because we are not yet Sharanagat. And by the way, that is going to be the topic of discussion tomorrow, which Cash is going to take. I'll be there, but I may be joining a little late because I'm traveling right now. But that is what we are going to talk about in tomorrow's session. How do we get out of this law of karma, that game that we are playing right now, to a more mercy or a grace-based system? I think it's surrender and all that principles we'll be spoken about. So what that means is we perform actions, and those actions will invariably fall into those three categories. Those actions, unless they are perfectly directed towards God, which is Karma Yoga we spoke about, then they have to fall into one of these three categories. What are these three categories? Sattvic, Rajasic, and Tamasic. Either you'll have negative thoughts or negative actions you will do, right? Why? People are not bad. Circumstances make them, or their ignorance makes them. So everybody has good intentions at heart. Even if you speak to a thief, they will not like, anybody stealing from them. Everybody's good. You ask anybody, they'll tell a story about the third person who's bad, or something that is making them bad in their life, right? Situation, circumstances. But why does that happen? Either the knowledge slips or they don't have the knowledge, right? So either they'll end up doing tamasic things, rajasic things, at best sattvic things. And all of these three things are binding karmas, and they will have consequences. And that is what law of karma controls or dictates based on the kind of deeds you have performed. In this particular verse, Lord Krishna is saying that, Arjun, I'm not the cause of your suffering. I am the cause in the sense that I am giving you results like a judge. We spoke about the judge, the sanctioning authority. It's facilitated by his material energy. He is the sanctioning authority, but you are making the choices. And we'll talk about how are you making the choices. You are making it through the free will that God has given you. So we'll spend a session on free will only. But let's understand it's you who's making a desire. And that is why you have to bear the karma. It's not God. God is simply a sanctioning. He says, I'm going to give you energy, but I'm going to slap you a bill. See, electricity, power grid gives you the energy to run the fan or the AC, air conditioned tube lights, or even to electrocute somebody. But end of the day, it slaps a bill on you. It says, okay, this is the charge cost of what I gave you. Similarly, free will is the most expensive thing. Its name is free, but it's truly expensive. And that expense we are bearing in form of law of karma. Now, karma is like a word spoken, an arrow shot. Once an arrow is out, it's out. Or a bullet fired, it is fired. And once we perform it, we have no choice but to accept the reactions. Why? We have spoken about it because we have made that desire. Nobody else has done it for us. Now, if we have made a desire which is in accordance with the injunctions of scriptures or in accordance with the desire of God, then it is fine. But our odds of aligning our desire to the desire of God increase only when we, invest in good knowledge, sound knowledge, bona fide knowledge, scriptural knowledge, and contemplate, ruminate upon it, understand it, and make a sincere effort around it. Okay, that's the only way for us to align to those things. Otherwise, our mind will give us a lot of things and we will keep on accepting it, thinking this is the right thing for me to do, right? So many confusions happen. My mind is telling me to do this. Is it a right thing or a wrong thing? What do I do if my mind is telling me that? So that's part of the mind management we are talking about. Mind is like an unruly child. It will keep on throwing things at you. And those things which are pleasurable more than being beneficial, and then it is very smart, it's very good at justifying itself. Tons of reasons it will give. Oh, this is why I'm doing this. But then the word of guru, if you have a direct, like Arjun had the benefit of having Lord Krishna, we don't have it. Now we do have the benefit of having guru. Now his word, final authority. If not, then your long-term, short-term benefits, your common sense, or at least your vivek buddhi can tell you shreyas preyas concept, right? Or the word of scriptures, if you have heard it from some wise man at some point in your life, that could be your guiding compass as well. Even after that, you can make a good attempt based on sincerity at heart and purity of intention. So that's a good framework to apply in making decision making. But if you simply go by what your mind is telling and justifying it, thinking this is the right thing to do, more often than not, you will be going wrong. This is very simple. Why we will go wrong? Because of the conditioned state that we are in. So that is why if you have a guru, take direct advantage. I mean, have a one-on-one with them. If you don't have one yet, then apply. Is it, something like a pleasurable thing I'm going for or not? If you still don't have it, then apply your, purity of intention, sincerity at heart to make a decision around it. But this karmic cycle, we will continue to get implicated in it because we are making the desire. So let's understand this point very clearly. We are the one, like this kid who wants to have an ice cream, he's making the desire. Or this kid who wants to lift the weight is making the desire. God will be like, okay, I'm going to facilitate this process for you, but I'll slap you a bill, and that bill will come in form of law of karma. This is how it goes. Now let's take a few questions here. What some participants have to say before we go any further.
Keshavji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. The kid and the health club, it reminds me of the Chinese proverb, tell me, I'll forget. Show me,
Sorry, I
I'll
didn't hear that.
tell me, I will forget.
Tell me,
Show me, tell me, I'll forget. Show me, I may remember. Involve me, I will. Tell me, I will forget. Show me, I may remember. Involve me, I will understand. No, the kid, he came to know, or he was told about health club, his father going. So he didn't care. Then he was shown the health club. He saw the health club, father lifting the weight. And after that, he remembered. And now finally, he did the karma, practiced it, and he achieved the goal. He could lift more weight. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Very nice proverb, Keshavji. I'd like to know that and maybe bring it to one of our sessions as well. So thank you for sharing that. Jyoti D, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe Jyoti ji.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. When you started the story, it reminded me of the ant sitting on the elephant's ear. And the ant travels on a bridge and the bridge shakes. And the ant is so gleeful that it shook the bridge. That's what it reminded me of when you started with the aspect of the child wanting to lift a weight greater than his own, and the father lifts for him. But I have a question.
Sure. You lost your voice when you said I have a
Atma
question.
and Bhagwan and Prakriti.
Mhm.
The aspect is equal, but not equal from the aspect that material law and spiritual law are different. In the material law, when it's a child making a mistake and the father is facilitating him, the child is not allowed, for example, to go get an ear pierced or go buy a gun or do something horrible, right? And they are held to a different material law. But in spiritual law of karma, if you sin, you're going to be caught. And there is no escape that no, God facilitated this or my father facilitated.
I get that. Yes, it's a very interesting perspective you brought in, right? In material, if somebody is trying to do something illegal, there are safeguards, right? People will prevent them from doing so. But then it says, right, the wheels of God, they turn, at their own pace. So that is the law of karma. So God, the divine laws are different in that sense. He's not going to prevent you, right? They will be,
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
continues to facilitate that process, but then it catches up with you because God, the way the wheels, the time or the wheels of God, they move, they say, I think there's a saying, I forgot, that's a very beautiful saying, that God has his own ways, he moves at his own pace. And that is how law of karma works as well. If
Yeah.
somebody would get immediately implicated, we may think from our material understanding that if somebody is making a mistake, immediately punish them or stop them from doing that. But probably God has a better thing in, right? He wants to learn our lessons the right way. So, but yeah, I get your point. It's a pretty fascinating point that you brought up.
Yeah, as an analogy, this proved the point very well to me, but it just raised this doubt, and so
Mhm.
I wanted to bring this up. Thank you for
Especially,
listening.
thank
Radhe
you for bringing
Radhe.
that. Radhe Radhe. I'll sometimes probably try to pick up maybe a good discussion with Swamiji on this topic as well. See, even in material world, if you look at it, if somebody would have liver cirrhosis the moment they have alcohol, nobody would drink alcohol. Or if somebody would immediately have diabetes on having that sweet, nobody would eat sweet. It happens in its due course of time, and probably that's how certain things are designed by God, including the law of karma, right? It gives you time. It's like motivated by fear at that point, right? What do you think would be a better learning? Somebody out of fear, oh my God, I'll get diabetes, or out of having that discriminating faculty here that this is not good for me. That change would be more perpetual. In first case, it is more forceful and motivated by fear, and the second case, it's more about you have truly uprooted the seed of that ailment in your head, right? So maybe God wants us to learn it that way. But yeah, it's a pretty interesting point that you brought up. Okay, yes, Sandhya, you wanted to ask something or add something?
There are comments, questions, and I also had a question.
Comments,
Um,
question, and had a question. Okay, go ahead in that order, please.
okay, so the first comment from Kumarji is recently parents of a shooter were sent to jail. Like,
Parents of a shooter, yeah. So in this case, God needs to be sent to jail, basically. Yeah. Okay.
and this is the first time it has
Yeah.
changed scenario of parents escaping, especially if they knew something about it. Okay.
Right. So parents can say they did not reign in the unruly child. In this case, God is saying, you know what? In order to make you ruly from being unruly, I have given my scriptures, I've sent the saints. Why are you not making it a priority? Okay. Problem is still with you. So it's like head I win, tail you lose. Okay, so let's just take that onus upon ourselves, because our scriptures also say that athato brahma jigyasa. Now that you are born as a human, inquire, who are you? Who is God? What is your relationship with God? And what is the purpose of life? The duty is on you to seek that, and you start making it a priority. I'll open the floodgates for you. You don't make it a priority, Maya will keep on engulfing you, right? Maya is very powerful. Problem happens that even after knowing, we keep taking U-turns, side turn, about turn, because Maya are so powerful and we don't realize it. It can happen in subtle ways. So Sugriv example Swamiji was telling today. Sugriv said, Ram, he told Ram Bhagwan ji, after he had killed Bali, that, okay, take me along with you, and I'll just want to help you, and what I'm going to rule this kingdom for, and all that stuff. He said, friend, you are having momentary detachment. Okay, go and rule your kingdom at this point. And even he gave him about 4 months, Chaturmas, right? When that, I think, rainy season, he said, okay, let me stall my quest for Mother Sita. And in the meantime, you help me out. And in the meantime, what happened, Sugriv? He went back. When power, he got money, and he was enjoying, getting intoxicated and enjoying the dances. He had completely forgotten his previous state. That is how powerful Maya is within 4 months. That too, when he came in direct contact with Lord Ram himself. So who are we basically to get? So yeah, one part is, of course, Maya is powerful. Second is, in this case, God has given us freedom to seek answers for the questions, and is not going to force it into our head. We have to exercise our free will around it. That's how He's kept it. And why He's given us free will, we'll have a good discussion in upcoming sessions on that topic as well. Yes,
And
comment, remark, and then question, right? You said.
first comment, now question in the chat.
Mhm.
From Viral SG. Can we then say everything happens for a reason?
Everything happens for a reason. There is a Taoist saying which says, every snowflake falls at the right place. So yes, in that sense, everything is happening for a reason. There is a method to this apparent madness that we see around. And nothing is out of control of God at all. Like even our prarabdha or situation circumstances are arranged in such a manner that we can come out better and stronger out of it, provided we have the right knowledge and mindset around those. So nothing is out of control of God, actually, if you think about it. People were worried, right, that if we've got an irresponsible leader of this world who has access to the nuclear codes and can bring back, bring this earth back to the ice age, will it happen? Right? That somebody can punch in certain keys, and the chief of army, the US president, had that power. And if somebody um, gets upset and, in the middle of the night, rather than going to the Twitter, they decide to punch in those nuclear codes, it can bring earth back to the ice age. It can happen. People have those power. Will it happen? So the answer is no. At a macro level, God controls everything. He's not going to let Kali Yuga die before 4,32,000 years, which is the age of Kali Yuga. So if people think it's, something is bad is going to happen, Ghor Kali Yuga has come, world war is going to happen, Middle East, if you're watching that, something bad is going to happen, this world will come crashing down, nothing of that sort. It's not going to go anywhere. In every era, these discussions do happen. But yes, to your question, I think I've digressed a little bit. But yes, everything is under God's control, and everything is happening for a reason only. Because our scriptures say, Isha Vasyam Idam Sarvam. That means this world itself is a veritable form of God. And it's perfect in itself. It's the same world for the saints as well.
Okay, my question was related to the mirror window principle. So far, our discussion has been mainly around the intent and, the one who carries the intent or the desire should be taking the responsibility of doership in some sense, right?
In all sense.
Yeah, good. So, but when it comes to this, something good getting done through us versus something bad getting done through us, we should have a different attitude in terms of doership.
Right.
So here, isn't it dependent upon the outcome more than the desire?
Right. So that is to neutralize another enemy that we have, which we are going to talk about, which is I, or the pride. So to neutralize that, a devotee always has this attitude: if anything good gets done, right, even though they might have exerted free will there, but then you give credit to the energy company. Without its energy, nothing would have happened. You attribute it back to it. But when something bad happens, you understand it's your imperfection, because if God was dictating or directing everything, everything would be perfect, right? So that is to neutralize that ego which can rear its ugly head from time to time if we don't look at it that way. So that's an attitude to neutralize your ego. And also the fact that anything good that do, right? It is a Daivik gun. Daivik gun is nothing but an exercising our will in accordance with God's will. At least we're trying to align to that. So again, we attribute it back to, where it's coming from.
So, yes, it's about perspective and attitude so that we don't build in the ego.
Mhm.
In terms of logbook of karma,
If you look at it from the logbook of karma, if you're building pride, you will end up doing sattvic karma. Okay. But when you attribute it back to God, now you are doing gunatit karma. So now you are getting closer to God realization or liberation. You see what I'm saying? So let's say you do charity, and if you have not brought God into the mix, again it's aligning to Karma Yoga principle. Let's say you have not brought God into the mix, you did charity, you did not acknowledge it to anyone, right? It was a what you call that confidential charity that you did. But if you have not attributed it back to God, you would build a subtle pride, you know, patting yourself in the back, in the heart of your heart. So that is why it's a safer strategy if you attribute it back to God. Now, from sattvic karma, you are doing a gunatit, nirgun karma.
but won't that be decided at the level at the time of doing the karma, not at the time of getting the result and then
Both.
gratitude to God?
What's now you're talking about timing? Give me an example.
No, I mean what I'm saying, suppose I am doing something with a good intent to just say out of a sattvic desire, not out of a gunatit desire. But once it gets done, I have made it a habit that anything that gets done good by me, I will offer it to God. Will that make it a gunatit action?
I don't know about the timing part of it. Maybe majority part of it when you thought you were doing, he'll give you proportional credit or something like that. I don't know. The point here is that the more God consciousness we have around any act during or after, the more gunatit consciousness you will acquire. And the more you attribute it to your own self, the more sattvic you are doing at that point, especially if it's a good desire. Now, how will that formula work? I have no idea. The whole idea is to sarveshu kaleshu, how closer we are getting to that principle. Right? End of the day, Lord says about sarveshu kaleshu, ma manusmar. Right? First, so if you are attributing it to your own self that I am doing this, and then finally you said, okay, by the way, God, it was you, then I don't know. I mean, how much proportion would that be Gunatit and versus Sattvic? It's a pretty complex algorithm. Let's hear from Pratyusha. Pratyusha, you wanted to add something?
Radhe Radhe everyone, Radhe Radhe sir, Sandhya ji. Actually, my question is, like sir, you said two examples, right? Both where, and one perspective that I think is, what if the child knew that it was the father who was doing it? Then who is taking the karma? Because we all have kids, right? Most of, maybe, I don't know. So if when they are small, so they
Right.
know even if they want something, the provider will be the parents, right? So who will be bearing the karma at that point when we are encouraging our children or not encouraging
See, that
for
now we're
whatever their
taking the
actions are?
discussion in a different direction here, right? This was an example to see who's providing the energy. In from a scriptural standpoint, yes, up to a certain age, we take responsibility for our kids' action. If we don't give them good values and stuff like that to begin with, yes, part of that responsibility is on us as well, right? If you're teaching them bad things and stuff. This example is more about who's facilitating the process, who's making the desire, and who's actually providing the energy. So from that standpoint, we are talking about. So if you're getting into the child-father relationship and who's responsible, that becomes a little different topic for discussion.
So why I ask this is because Arjuna doesn't want to fight.
Mhm.
So because all the situations that happened around him, where he was also involved, but a point came in his life where he's like, and don't want to do it. It's like the
Mhm.
child saying, I don't want the ice cream, but he has to eat it now.
Mhm.
So in that context, I was
So
asking,
Arjun,
then who is
yeah, so good you asked that question. When Arjun says, I don't want to fight, Lord Krishna says, Hato va prapsyasi swargam jitva va bhokshase mahim 2.37. All right, you need to fight. Because if you fight, if you don't fight, it will be an adharma. Of being a kshatriya, you have to fight. So he says, Hato va prapsyasi swargam jitva va bhokshase mahim. That means if you win, you will get swarg. And if you lose, if you win, you will get the kingdom, and if you lose, you will get swarg. Okay, and then Arjun says, okay, what's the big deal? Am I going to get permanent peace and happiness there? So he said, Tetem bhaktya swarga lokam vishalam kshine punya marte lokam vishanti. He said, no, you're going to exhaust that and you're going to come back again here. Right? So he said, then what do I need to do? Then he says, Tamev Sharanam Gaccha Sarva Bhavena Bharata, that you need to surrender. And finally he says, Sarv Dharmam Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Braj, that surrender, forget all the dharmas and simply surrender unto me. And then he said, then what's going to happen? Then he says, Tesham Nitya Bhuktanam Yogakshemam Vyamyaham. Then I'm going to Yogakshem for basically, I'm going to give you that permanent peace that you are looking for. So point here is that when you align your will to God's, okay, if you don't do, inaction is also not an option. Action. So surrender means surrender is neither good nor bad. It is an act that you do which does not give you punya or pap. It is beyond punya and pap. So when Sandhya was asking if we have that ego, we are attributing a good deed to ourselves, then you are getting punya for that. You'll go to Swarglok. But when you are saying it's for you, God, then you are going beyond pap and punya itself. Make sense?
so yes, so general the perspective should be that okay, whatever it is, I'm doing it for God
True.
because I'm
That
in that.
is always a great policy. In fact, I won't say great policy. That is a prerequisite actually if you want to get closer to the consciousness of Sarveshu Kaleshu Mamanusmaro Yuddhasya. Right? When God says Sarveshu Kaleshu, He is saying every moment without any discontinuity or interruption. Ananyash Chintayanto Mam Yojana Paryupasate. Ananyash Chintayanto Mam. Satat word, I think it is used 7-8 times in entire Bhagavad Gita. Satat means there is nirantarta, continuity. So that continuity can only come when we can attribute anything and everything that we do and map it back to God. It's not an easy thing to attain, but the more we practice, the better we'll get closer to that concept. So at least scripturally speaking, that's the injunction from or the direction from guideline from Lord Krishna.
Thank you, sir. Exactly.
And he says, Yat karoshi yadnasi yadjuhoshi dadashi yat. Whatever you do, just offer it to me. In fact, he's given that instruction in 9.27. You can check it out. Yat karoshi yadnashi yat yadjuhoshi dadashi yat pashyasi kaunteya tat kurushva madarpanam. Whatever you do, just offer it to me. And that is the way forward. Whatever you do. He's not saying this or that, whatever he said, which is a pretty advanced stage, right? But we have to get to that.
But
Yes.
Miss, sorry, just related thing, if I could simply ask, but again, mirror window, bad things, no, not attributing to God, right?
No, you can attribute back it to God. Then what will happen is He'll multiply and give it back to you. So that's His rule. He'll multiply and give it back to you. That's what His rule is. You offer good things, He'll multiply and give it back to you. That means your propensity to do more good things will increase. You offer bad things to Him, He'll multiply and give it back to you. This is
No,
His
I
rule.
mean, it's about taking responsibility of, like, given our free will and the mistakes that we do along those lines, I was saying.
You have to take responsibility for you. That's the way forward. If you give it, offer it back to God, like people say in that movie, X movie was there, right? This guy will go kill people and said, God is making me do it. And then he went on committing more murders. So more of bad propensities, tendencies you will get. So that doesn't help at all. Little knowledge becomes dangerous in that, right? So we don't offer bad things to God. We take accountability for that. And that is the way forward for a devotee. Samiran, you wanted to ask something? Go ahead.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe. In terms of, in context of free will and not having complete surrender, I got to remember about when Maharaji used to say that whatever we are doing, uh, any action, just after some time, just remember for a second or 5 seconds that yes, look within and say that yes, God is seated within me. So does that help? Like he gives a practical tool with this, and does that help in any of the diverting or like distributing the proportion of worship?
See, if you think that God is seated within me and you end up committing a bad thing, you still have to take the right decision and right thought, right? Bring it in. So yes, if you can bring in this awareness that God is both my protector and my witness, it's a great practice to do, right? It's a great practice to do, and then your conscience will guide you to do more good things. So it's a good practice to have. And I think something within you would tell you invariably that when you do something wrong, the after feeling would tell you whether it was good or bad. So having that consciousness that God is with me and He's watching me and He's protecting me, it's a great feeling. It's a great feeling, actually. Not feeling, but a great practice, I would say. That is essentially what Karma Yoga is, right? So if you can do that and start living that as a truth, I think the job is already done in that case. It's just a matter of time before God will manifest because you truly believe it. And then you're trying to align your, see, when you, it's like this. There was a guy who wanted to go out and steal. He had made up his mind to steal a car, somebody's car. So he woke up early in the morning, and the midnight he went to close to that car, and until he saw somebody else coming from the other direction, whom he knew. So he postponed the plan. Again, he made up the plan after a while. Then again, he saw somebody else coming. So the point here is that when we try to do something bad and if we see somebody, we stop because we've got a witness there. So what happens? Why do we do things? We do think we have privacy to that. But if you can actually think God is watching you as your witness and protector, then you will not do anything wrong at all, right? You'll always try to nurture good thoughts as well. So it's a pretty advanced concept, but yes, this is how it's meant to be. Glad you brought it up.
Okay,
Great.
there
Yeah.
is
Good
a
or we
question.
good? Okay.
Hmm?
So
There's a
feedback tracker, please put in if you still have more questions around it. Like I said, tomorrow it's going to be a topic, a very fascinating topic on surrender and all the questions you always wanted to ask about that. So Cash is all geared up to answer those and present it to you. It's going to be an extended session tomorrow. I'll try to make it in between as well, as best as I can, but it's going to be a very fascinating session. So please put in your questions and feedback tracker. We'll try to pick it up tomorrow or day after as we continue with this session. Yes, go ahead, Sandhya. Finish your thought.
question from Arunji. So
Mhm.
is this desire that we say created by us, and then when do we say that God provided the inspiration to do something? Secondly, does desire come from vasanas which influence the soul?
Yeah, that's true. Desire comes from attachment. And attachment comes from repetitive thinking that this thing is going to give me happiness. And craving for happiness is inherent to soul because we are the ocean or the fragmental part of that perfect bliss that God is. So this is all related. Because we are fragmental part of God, we have to seek bliss. Part seeks the whole. Water vapor, a water droplet, it becomes, through evaporation, it becomes, it goes up in the air, and then finally through condensation it becomes a cloud, and then finally it rains, it comes back as a river or snow back into the ocean, right? So something which starts from ocean goes back to the ocean, something that starts from mud comes back to the mud. Similarly, something that has come from an ocean of bliss has to go back. It's always going to crave for that perfect bliss. Now that bliss, we have started thinking of ourselves as a body. We have gotten that equation wrong. We have started seeking bliss in this world. And because we repeatedly think about something that is going to give us happiness, it forms an attachment. Through attachment comes desire. And that how this cycle starts unfolding. So this is the link between each one of these things that you ask about. So desire in itself, material desire is poisonous, but if you have a desire for God or desire for, spiritual things, then it is an uplifting. That's why we said we can dovetail all these things in the direction of God and make these liabilities as our assets. So desire comes from attachment comes from repeated thinking comes because we are seeking happiness, and seeking happiness, you don't have a choice. When it comes to seeking happiness, you have no choice. When it comes to seeking happiness in which direction, you have a choice.
Great. Awesome. Thank you. And there is this comment from Kumarji: if God wills something to happen, good or what we consider bad, nothing can stop it.
True. So there is something called honi. Okay, that is what God's wishes. Now we cannot challenge God. Why did you desire that? Okay, he has a bigger picture than us. That is called honi. So honi or moni ko koi nahi dal sakta.
Good addition. Okay,
Yes.
Arunji has raised hand to, I think, clarify his question. Please go ahead, Radhe Radhe.
Yes, Radhe Radhe.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe. Thanks, Nitinji. Actually, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry. So I'd asked two questions actually. You answered the second one about where the desire comes from. My first question was just to understand about desire itself. So at least in today's session, we said that desire is created by us, right? So the at least that's my understanding. So I wanted to understand the difference between that when we say desire is coming from us versus when we say in some situations that God provided me the inspiration to do something. So how do we understand the distinction?
How do we understand the distinction? I don't know. Usually it will be a desire. See, if God is inspiring you, it will be motivated by selflessness. If God is inspiring you, it will be motivated with selflessness. If you are doing it, it will be motivated with some kind of an attachment or self-seeking, if we can differentiate that somehow. Right. So that is how I can, at least a thumb rule that I can apply. But it's difficult to know unless we have a good awareness, self-awareness about ourselves. Our desires stem from the fact I want to enjoy it. There's something in it for me, and I want to extract that happiness for myself. If God wants to use you as an instrument and inspire you, it will be for something greater than yourself, something other than your selfish or self-seeking in that case. That could be one of the rules we can apply. I mean, that's how it's meant to be. As long as we can understand, we have that much of self-awareness.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
Okay, are we good then for our next segment?
Can we make announcements quickly?
Yeah, let's quickly make announcements, and then we can have maybe 3 recitations for Bhakti Shatak, and then we will wrap up today's session.
Yeah, so
Now, Ashutosh S is sending me messages. I would encourage Mr. Ashutosh S to come on audio and speak whatever grievances you have or whatever you want to share, which I'm pretty sure you will not on audio or video. But if you don't do it, we will simply ignore the messages you are directly sending here. Okay, if you can come on audio or video, then let's hear us out, how we can help you. Somebody should be able to help you. Yes, go ahead, make the announcements.
right. So we have ongoing Ram Navami celebrations at Radha Krishna Temple. Today was day 2 of the 4-day-long celebrations. Yesterday we had a grand journey to Ayodhya show, a series of shows which everybody will get to see on Tuesday live on YouTube. So watch out for that. And today we had satsang with Swamiji. Tomorrow we have Durgashtami special Havan. And day after we will have special Ram Jan celebrations, cake cutting and everything. So keep an eye on all the announcements and on the YouTube page of Radhakrishna Temple, as well as your app. I think everybody here has a Radhakrishna Bhakti app. So all the latest updates about the events will come there. So watch out over there. Next is Bhakti Kirtan Retreat that's happening. I've shared the link for both these events in the chat. So if you haven't still registered yourself for the Bhakti Kirtan retreat, please do register. You can watch it online and it is free of cost. So yeah, these were the major two announcements, and the feedback tracker has been shared. So please fill it out. Now I can
Great.
switch.
So
Yeah,
we
you
can
want-
move to the Bhakti Shatak. Maybe we can have 2 or 3 recitation, then we'll wrap it up. I know we are a little late, but let's try to wrap it up quickly. By the way, we had a fantastic Ram Navami celebration, so I hope we can show some pictures and videos when they come out. You know, that
Just a
amazing
wait of 2
that
more days.
happened. We have our director, producer, and participants here as well, but we'll wait for the videos and to come out and not steal the thunder for now. Let's go ahead and have at least 3 hands, and then we can wrap it up.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Sandhya. You can recite it. We can simply recite it, and then maybe one of you can read the meaning, and not everybody has to do that. Yes, go ahead.
Okay. जग मह सुख दुख दो नहीं, अस उर धरि वे ज्ञान। राधे राधे। सुख माने दुख मिलत है, जग सुख न जगत महामान। राधे राधे। जय राधे कृष्ण राधे राधे, राधे कृष्ण राधे। Make a firm resolve that there is neither true happiness nor sorrow in this material world. Expectation of happiness leads to the experience of sorrow. Hence, do not contemplate happiness anywhere in the world.
It's a very, very powerful verse. There is a saying in Hindi, right? हमने हंसकर रोने को दावत दे दी. So this is how it works in the material world. So seek happiness in the material world at your own risk. That's essentially what it means. Yes, Shiramya, go ahead.
Radhe Radhe.
राधे राधे। जग महा सुख दुख दो नाही, असुर धारिल ज्ञान। राधे राधे। सुख माने दुख मिलत है, सुख न जगत महान महान महान। राधे राधे। Thank you.
Thank you, Shiramya. All right, Swati ji, last one. Be quick.
Yes, Swati ji, Radhe Radhe.
या राधे राधे। जग मह सुख दुख दो नहीं, अस उर धरि ले ज्ञान। राधे राधे। सुख माने दुख मिलत है, सुख न जगत महामान। राधे राधे। Thank you, Radhe Radhe.
Thank you, Swati ji. Very nice. So thank you again, everybody, for your engaging participation and turning on your videos. Those of you who could do that. So thanks again to all of you. And I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Look out for the session tomorrow. It's going to be a very enthralling, exciting session on surrender, grace, and lot more. And please fill out the feedback tracker. And Radhe Radhe, good night, good day from my side. Have a great rest of your day and blessed evening. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Nitin ji. And I saw some more questions coming in, so I have requested please put it in the feedback tracker. They will be covered.
Yes, we'll cover it in the coming sessions. If you can put it in the feedback tracker. Thank you so much. Radhe
So
Radhe.
thank you, everybody. See you all tomorrow. Radhe Radhe.
See you all tomorrow. Bye.